Hello everyone and welcome to yet another Chainsaw Man character discussion. Today I'm going to be discussing the main antagonist, worst girl, and one of my most despised characters in any recent series, Makima. So before we get into today's video, I of course have to mention my subscriber goal for 2021, hitting 5,000 by the end of the year. We have 1,475 to go, so if you're already a fan of the channel and you're not subscribed, you might as well to reach that goal. The next thing is my Patreon. Since it's the start of the video, it's time to give a shout out to my wonderful patrons. Special thanks to Fuse, Neo, Dijon Redden, Honey Mustard, Zach Rhodes, K-God, Chris Redfield, Scratch23, Moonshadow935, Rat, Ryzen 4K, Artist, and our newest patron, Mac Campaign. Thank you all very much for supporting me on Patreon. I greatly appreciate it. And if you too want to get a shout out at the start of videos or access to reviews for solo leveling in the Boxer, you can also become a patron as well. There's a link to my Patreon down in the description. With that out of the way, let's get on with the discussion. To give a very brief summary and analogy for Makima's character, I'm sure some of you have heard of the trifecta of terms used to describe horrible toxic women, girl boss, gaslight, gatekeep. You kind of put one more in one corner or in the middle depending on where they are on that spectrum, right? Yeah, Makima's the entire triangle. For starters, major girl boss, wears a suit and tie to work every day. She's in charge of a specialized group of devil hunters. She actively ruins the lives of 3 and more of the people working underneath her. She gatekeeps with her view of Chainsaw Man and what Chainsaw Man is supposed to be, and also kind of keeps other people away from him, like how she kept Reze from getting back to Denji. And she also does big gaslighting with her insane mind control powers, and tricking a traumatized 16-year-old boy into remembering a repressed memory of childhood trauma, and then convincing him in his traumatized state that because he killed someone in self-defense, he doesn't deserve to have a happy life. So yeah, I feel like that does a pretty decent job of summarizing Makima as a character. She is a horrible bitch. Or stronger words, as I have used on various occasions. She's very despicable. And I think the reason that many people, myself included, have such a visceral hatred for Makima is because a lot of the bad things that she does affect Denji and the others on a personal level. It's not like this sort of impersonal, grand scale thing that happens like a war, where war just kind of indiscriminately harms the people involved in it. Makima specially tailors her cruelty to be as horrible as possible. In her own words, she wants to make it impossible for Denji to ever have a normal life. So, I mean, listen, with an admission like that, how could I not hate you with every fiber of my being? Now, it's because of this hateability that Makima is such a good villain. Well, in one department, she's very easy to hate. Like, almost Griffith tier. Orchestrating all of the terrible things that happened to Denji, and then killing his adopted sister figure, like, right in front of him, and then laughing about it afterwards, and the whole, oh yeah, all of your happiness will be created and destroyed by me, I'm gonna make it impossible for you to live a normal life. Yeah, pretty hateable. And she tried to murder Kobeni, too. She tried to kill Kobeni just to get Chainsaw Man to jump in front of her attack. So no real regard for human life whatsoever, but I guess we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, that's one aspect of it. I guess you could say that a fourth G applies to Makima, a secret hidden G for toxic women, groomer. You could most definitely describe what she does to Denji as grooming. He is a impoverished, hormonal, uneducated 16-year-old boy, and she is a very attractive, powerful woman who, probably because of her devil power, seems to know exactly what Denji wants, or she just kind of guessed and figured it out correctly. And so specially tailored all of her interactions with him to give him as much of an unbreakable connection and attraction to her as physically possible, so that she could pretty much get him to do whatever she tells him to do, and then break down his psyche to a point where he just won't care anymore and do whatever she wants without any regard for his own desires, to the point where he doesn't want to think anymore. So yeah, that's another reason why Makima is pretty despicable. Now, the other factor in Makima being a very good villain, is that she's a scary bitch. She is terrifying. Once we get the start of the Katana Man arc, and it seems like Makima dies, it's like, oh shit, that was sudden. And then she gets up, with the spooky lighting on the train where she's all shaded and stuff. You realize, oh, this person is not human. And then for the rest of the series, well, really the rest of the series, but you've got this air of mystery up until the reveal that she's the control devil of, what the hell is Makima? She's this strange, all-knowing, all-hearing, maybe all-seeing, inhuman thing that wears the guise of a human. It makes her very creepy and frightening. She's a very frightening villain for most of the story, after a certain point, and really kind of up until the reveal that she's the villain. There's just, whenever she's around, you're like, oh shit, you feel very uncomfortable. Now I should probably talk about the other half of the equation that is very essential for a villain being a good villain, and that's Makima's motivation, which is a little out there. It's a little meta, mostly because Chainsaw Man's powers get kind of meta with, like, concept erasure, but Makima wants to use the Chainsaw Man to erase basically all bad concepts in the world, and create a perfect world where humans don't have to deal with anything bad happening ever. She wants to get rid of things like war, death, and hunger. And I talked at length when the chapter where this was revealed came out, that this is not good. I mean, getting rid of war, yeah, sure, whatever, get rid of war. But getting rid of things like death, hunger, I'm not sure that's a great idea. Those two specifically, because, like, if no one dies and no one needs to eat, isn't, like, overpopulation gonna happen? And you're just gonna have, like, a fucking overcrowded world where everyone's stepping all over each other but no one can die. I feel like she didn't really think that one out very well. But also, when it comes to many other things, like just getting rid of all bad stuff, I don't think that's a good idea. Because a very essential component of human progress is the overcoming of challenges, hardships. When there is a bad thing, we dedicate a bunch of time and thinking and resources to solving that problem, to getting rid of the bad thing. And as a result, we progress a lot when we have something bad to deal with. Like war. War is really terrible, but it's also one of the greatest engines of progress in the world. As many terrible things we churn out of war, usually a lot of it ends up being used for less terrible purposes. A lot of it's used in kind of everyday life. Maybe not all of it, but a lot of the times it's used for other avenues in society and human development that actually make the world better, as opposed to engines of war making the world worse. So by getting rid of all this bad stuff, she would probably reduce the world to some kind of gray state of stagnation that wouldn't be great. I think Denji kind of proves what's bad with her end goal in a kind of simpler, more personal, not as important Denji way, in asking, would there be any more bad movies in the world that you create? Would there be, like, any really shitty movies that are just awful? And her answer is no. And you see, the problem with that is that if every movie was Shawshank Redemption, if every movie was a timeless masterpiece, an absolute classic, then none of them would be. There wouldn't be anything particularly special or notable about movies if every single one of them was just fucking amazing, just the best thing ever. Because then it's not the best thing ever. Then it's just normal. So that kind of shows a little bit of why Makima's plan is kind of bad. But there is a final interesting component of Makima's character that's introduced in the last chapter, and it kind of makes sense when you look back on everything. It adds a little bit of sympathy to her character, which I don't want to admit because I like hating her, but Makima's personal goal, she has this weird obsession with the Chainsaw Devil, with Pachita. It's never established why she started to feel this. Maybe it's because she can create the world where she gets what she desires, but she basically wanted to have a family and have people that she loved and that loved her. And there are really two reasons she couldn't have that, and they kind of go hand in hand. The first big one is that she was raised by the Japanese government. She was raised by the state, and as a result, she was not raised in a family. She did not establish human connection. She did not learn how to have real human connections with other people, how to really feel love for other people. It was something that she never learned, and as a result, she was never really able to comprehend it. Like what happened with Power. Power learned the value of love and life, and as a result, she became a better person. That never happened for Makima. So that's why she became this sort of horrible, inhuman thing. And in addition to that is, of course, her devil nature, and her being the control devil. She seems to see things, I don't know if I want to say on a higher plane, but maybe, I guess it would be, in that she doesn't really see people in the way we do. She identifies different creatures through scent. So she doesn't see people. She just kind of recognizes them based on, I guess, like, chemical patterns within their body or whatever, their hormones. She doesn't recognize them by their face or their personality. So that, combined with her sort of detached upbringing, resulted in her being this very detached, unemotional person that really wants to be able to connect to people, but it's just really impossible for her to do that on a personal level, and as a result, she instead connects to people from a position of power and controlling them, not as mutuals, but as a superior. Yeah, I mean, listen, Fujimoto was not being really subtle when he made the Control Devil a hot, dominant, red-haired woman in a suit who controls people with chains that come out of her crotch, okay? Not being very subtle there. But, yeah. Who knows what is to come for the Control Devil from here, now that Makima has been erased from existence and has returned as Nayuta, who is a child with no recollection of her previous life as Makima. Now she has the opportunity to get what she wanted. Pachita wants her dream to come true, for her to be able to have a family, have people that she loves. Because instead of being raised by the Japanese government or the Public Safety Bureau, she is being raised and probably taught a little bit and protected by Denji, who now has a person that he can care about really personally, on an emotional level, who's not manipulating him or using him for their own ends. So maybe through the person that she horribly mistreated in her past life, Makima can finally get the good life that she had always wanted in her new life. And hopefully the other members of the cast of Chainsaw Man Part 2 will be helping out Denji in that. Hopefully Kishibe will be back. He'll be helping in some way. I imagine Kishibe will be like a cool grandpa or uncle, Maybe we'll see more of Yoshida. I know Yoshida is a very popular character that a lot of us want to come back because we know he's a student, so it kind of makes sense for him to come back in the school arc. Hopefully Reze, since she's immortal and all, she's Denji's love interest. So her being back to maybe be like kind of a mother or older sister figure for her would be really good. And who knows what else will happen with the other characters. So Makima, you got what you deserved, but Nayuta is not you. So hopefully things will work out for the new Control Devil in the future. But with that is all I have to say for today's Chainsaw Man character discussion. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. I have an entire playlist full of Chainsaw Man character discussions. I'm not really sure who I'm going to do next. Now that I've kind of dealt with the main 4 characters, I'm going to have to delve a little into side characters. I'm thinking Reze is probably the first contender, probably the person I'm most likely to do the next video on. So you should definitely subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss it whenever it comes out. I also have an entire playlist full of Chainsaw Man Part 1 chapter reviews. Those will be starting back up once Part 2 starts, and I'll probably do episode reviews for the anime whenever that starts. So you should definitely check out all those playlists if you're interested. If you enjoy other series such as Jujutsu Kaisen, Record of Ragnarok, Kengan Omega, and Bleach, I do videos in those series as well, so if you're interested in those, you should definitely check out my channel. If you enjoy discussing Chainsaw Man with other people, or you just enjoy the content I produce on this channel, I highly suggest you check out my Discord server. I have linked to that down in the description. And of course, if you want to help support me and the channel directly, while also getting shoutouts at the start of videos and access to reviews for solo leveling in the Boxer, you can always become a patron. There's a link to my Patreon down in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys around. Take care.